Ethan had never expected his life to change overnight. One moment he was asleep in his small, quiet apartment, dreaming about nothing more than a normal morning routine. The next, he was waking up somewhere completely different. The first thing he noticed was the light. It wasn't sunlight nor the soft glow of a street lamp filtering through his curtains. This light shimmered as if it were alive, pulsating gently against walls that were smooth, metallic, and unlike anything he had ever seen. His eyes slowly adjusted. He blinked and rubbed them, certain that sleep hadn't quite released him from its grip. But the world around him was real, or at least it felt real. The room was vast, larger than his apartment by far, with walls that curved in strange ways. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the edges of the floor, and a soft hum filled the air. It was beautiful, almost calming, but also frightening. And then he saw her. Sitting on a throne-like structure at the far end of the room was a figure so stunning that Ethan felt his heart skip a beat. She was tall, elegant, and radiated authority. Her skin shimmered faintly in tones of silver and blue, and her eyes were a deep shade of violet that seemed to look straight into his soul. She wore clothing that was unfamiliar, organic, flowing, yet regal, as if it were alive and part of her. Her posture was perfect, commanding, yet her gaze held a strange softness. "Good morning, my husband," she said. Her voice was melodious, musical, yet carried weight. Every word felt important. Ethan froze. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. He had no idea what to say. I think there's been some mistake," he finally managed. I'm not, I don't know you." The alien queen tilted her head slightly, regarding him with an expression that was both patient and curious. "No mistake has been made, Ethan. You are here because destiny has chosen you. You are my husband now." Ethan's mind raced. "Husband? No, I was asleep in my apartment. I live alone. I don't even... What do you mean, husband?" Stood gracefully, the sound of her movement soft yet resonant. "In my culture, the bond of marriage is sacred. The one chosen to join me is more than a partner. He is protector, companion, and guide. You have been chosen." Ethan shook his head, trying to grasp reality. Maybe he had been dreaming too long. Maybe he was sick. Maybe someone had drugged him. Everything seemed impossible, yet he could feel the truth of the situation in every nerve of his body. He was no longer in his apartment. Before he could speak again, the queen raised her hand. A soft glow emanated from her palm, and suddenly, the world shifted. The room expanded, walls stretching and transforming into something organic, like living metal. Patterns and lights shifted across the floor, forming shapes Ethan couldn't comprehend, yet they made sense in some strange, instinctive way. "You must come with me," she said. "There is much you need to understand." Ethan hesitated, fear and curiosity battling within him. Then, almost without thinking, he stepped forward. He didn't know why, but some invisible force seemed to guide him toward her. She reached out her hand, and when he touched it, a strange warmth flowed through him. The room seemed to dissolve. The next moment, Ethan found himself standing on a balcony, high above a world that looked like nothing he had ever imagined. Cities floated in the sky with towers of crystal and metal, lights glimmering like stars. Rivers of glowing liquid weaved between them, reflecting the sky, which was not blue but a soft, shifting purple, streaked with green clouds. Strange, graceful creatures flew in formations overhead, their wings trailing light as they moved. "This is my world," the queen said, appearing at his side. "It is called Elindra. You are here because your arrival is part of a greater purpose." Ethan's jaw dropped. This isn't Earth. This is... how?" "The same question many before you have asked," she said calmly. "Elindra is ancient, and its people are advanced. Yet we face dangers beyond your imagination. Your presence here is no accident. You have been brought to us for reasons that may soon become clear." He turned, looking at her. There was something about her words, about her very presence, that made him believe her, even if he could not understand why. His life, the one he had thought ordinary, had vanished in the blink of an eye. And in its place was a reality that was both terrifying and thrilling. Over the following hours, or what he assumed were hours, time felt strange here. Ethan was introduced to the palace. It was immense, organic and metallic in perfect harmony, alive in ways that made him uneasy and fascinated at the same time. Alien advisors, beings of all shapes and colors, observed him with curiosity. Some bowed, others simply stared, their expressions unreadable. "Do not be afraid," the Queen whispered, sensing his discomfort. "They mean no harm. They are my people, and soon they will learn to trust you as I have." Ethan nodded slowly. He wanted to believe her, but he could feel the weight of their gazes. Every movement he made was watched, measured, analyzed. In some ways, it reminded him of school days when the teacher would suddenly watch him, waiting for him to make a mistake. Then came the first meal. He sat at a table that seemed to float, with food that glimmered faintly in the soft light. Hesitant, he touched it, and the moment his fingers brushed the surface, the food shifted to a form his mind could comprehend. A warm, bread-like substance with a subtle sweetness, and a drink that sparkled with flavor beyond anything on Earth. "You must eat," the Queen said. "Your body will need strength for the challenges to come." Challenges. The word echoed in his mind. What challenges, he wanted to ask, but the Queen's serene gaze silenced him. Somehow, he understood that questions would be answered in time, and that for now he simply had to trust. After the meal, she led him to a room filled with light and symbols. "You will begin your lessons here," she said. "Our technology, our history, our ways. You are to learn quickly. For the world outside our walls is not always safe." Ethan felt overwhelmed. His mind raced with 1,000 thoughts. How did he get here? Could he ever go back to Earth? Was this real or some strange dream? And yet a part of him, one he didn't understand, felt ready. He did not know why, but deep inside, he sensed that he was meant to be here. The lessons were unlike anything he had known. Symbols and holograms floated in the air, showing histories, technologies, and maps of distant worlds. Languages danced before his eyes, shaping themselves into forms he instinctively understood. He learned the basics quickly, though much remained beyond his grasp. The Queen was patient, guiding him with gentle corrections and explanations. "You are learning faster than expected," she said, her violet eyes sparkling. Perhaps this was always meant to be. Ethan swallowed, feeling the weight of her words. Perhaps. Perhaps everything had led to this moment, though he could not yet see the full picture. As the day, or what passed for a day here, ended, Ethan was allowed to rest. He lay on a soft surface that seemed to mold to his body, unlike any bed on Earth. Sleep came easily, though it was restless, filled with visions of glowing cities, strange creatures, and the Queen's calm, commanding presence. When he awoke, again it was to a soft sound, a voice, melodic and warm. The Queen stood nearby, looking at him as though she had not slept a moment. "You are ready for the next step," she said. "Tomorrow you will meet my court. They must see you as I see you, or we risk confusion and unrest. You are not just my husband, you are a symbol, Ethan. Understand this and you will survive what comes next." Ethan sat up slowly, looking out at the alien sky. Fear still fluttered in his chest, but alongside it was something new. Determination. Somehow he knew that turning back was impossible. He was here in this alien world, chosen by its queen, and a story far larger than himself was beginning. And as he gazed at the shimmering horizon, he whispered to himself, almost in disbelief, "All right, let's see what comes next." Little did he know, the real adventure was only just beginning. The first light of Elindra's sky was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Instead of a golden sun, a soft green light spread across the horizon, and 2 moons hung low, casting silver reflections over the floating cities. The world felt alive. Rivers of shimmering liquid weaved between towers, carrying tiny, glowing creatures that flickered like fireflies. Wind carried a strange, sweet scent, like flowers combined with rain. Ethan followed the Queen down a winding path, her hand brushing lightly against his. Every step brought him closer to a city that seemed impossible. Buildings floated, connected by bridges that curved in midair. Vehicles like glowing pods moved silently, gliding without engines or wheels. Creatures of all shapes and colors walked, flew, or floated beside them. Some were humanoid, others had wings, tails, or multiple limbs. All stopped and stared at Ethan as he passed, curiosity in their eyes. "This is the city of Lumeris," the Queen said softly. "My people have lived here for centuries. They are cautious of strangers, but they will learn to trust you if you show courage and respect." Ethan swallowed hard. Courage and respect. He had never felt so out of place. On Earth, he had been an ordinary man, a software engineer with a small apartment, a few friends, and a quiet life. Now he was expected to walk among alien royalty and their advisors, knowing that every action mattered. They reached the palace gates, massive structures of crystal and metal intertwined, shimmering in the soft morning light. Guards, tall and imposing with translucent armor, stepped aside silently as the Queen passed. Ethan's heart raced. Every pair of eyes seemed to measure him, judging whether he belonged here. Inside, the palace was vast and alive. Walls pulsed, faintly, like they were breathing. Floors shimmered with patterns that shifted as Ethan walked. Light floated in midair, creating paths and shapes he could follow. The air hummed softly, vibrating with energy. He reached out to touch a wall and it responded, rippling like water. "This place," Ethan whispered. "It's alive." "Yes," the Queen said. "Our world is alive, and so is our palace. Everything here responds to energy, intention, and thought. You will learn to feel it soon enough." They entered a grand hall, where alien advisors waited. Some looked like humans, though taller and more graceful. Others were unlike anything Ethan could describe, with wings, multiple eyes, or bodies that glowed faintly. The room fell silent as they all turned to him. Ethan felt their gaze like a weight pressing down on him. "People of Lumeris," the Queen announced, her voice carrying across the hall. "This is Ethan. He is my husband, and he has been chosen by fate to join our lives and our world." Murmurs spread through the hall. Some of the advisors bowed, some whispered among themselves, and a few looked skeptical. Ethan swallowed and stepped forward, trying to look confident even as his knees shook. I don't know what to say," he admitted. This is all new to me." A tall, winged advisor stepped forward, his feathers shimmering like molten metal. "You are human," he said carefully. "Our Queen says you have been chosen, but how can a human understand our ways, our world?" Ethan met his gaze. "I don't know yet, but I want to learn. I will do my best to understand." The advisor studied him, eyes narrowing. Then slowly he nodded. "We shall see. Actions speak louder than words." The Queen placed a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "That is why you are here. You will learn, and you will grow. And perhaps your human perspective may help us in ways we cannot yet see." Ethan nodded, feeling both fear and excitement. Somehow he believed her. Somehow he felt that his arrival here was not random, even if he did not yet understand the reason. For the next several hours he was given a tour of the palace and the city. Every step was a lesson. He learned how the energy of Alindra flowed, through buildings, vehicles, and even the people. He watched creatures communicate with light, colors, and gestures. He saw markets where goods floated and changed form to suit the buyer. He learned about technology that seemed like magic, but had a logic behind it. A logic he could feel but could not yet fully grasp. "You are learning quickly," the Queen said, as they rested in a quiet garden suspended in midair. Plants glowed softly and streams of light flowed like water. "You must always keep your mind open. Our ways are different, but not wrong. They are only new to you." Ethan nodded. He had always prided himself on being logical, analytical, and yet everything here defied his logic. He was learning to trust his instincts, to feel the world rather than only understand it with his. And as the day passed, Ethan noticed whispers among some advisors. They watched him carefully, sometimes exchanging glances when they thought he was not looking. He could feel their doubt, their skepticism. He realized that not all of the Queen's people accepted him. Some questioned his presence, his right to stand beside her. Later, the Queen took him to a tall tower overlooking the city. "You see that fleet in the distance?" she asked, pointing toward a cluster of glowing ships hovering beyond the city's borders. "They are not friendly. They have watched us for years, waiting for a chance to attack. Your arrival has not gone unnoticed. Some among my people believe your presence will anger them. Others believe it may help us." Ethan stared at the fleet. Fear prickled at his chest, but there was also a strange thrill. For the first time in his life, he felt that he mattered in a way he never had before. His choices could have real consequences for this world, for the Queen and for himself. "Me?" he asked, voice trembling slightly. "How could I? What can I do?" The Queen placed her hand over his. "Your mind is different, Ethan. Your perspective is human, unshaped by centuries of our customs. That is a strength, not a weakness. You may see solutions that we cannot. But first you must understand my people, their ways, and the world we protect." For the next days, Ethan met the council of advisors. Some were kind, offering guidance and lessons. Others were strict, testing him with questions, riddles, and scenarios to measure his judgment. He learned to navigate politics, to understand gestures and symbols, to sense energy flows that dictated the palace's functions. One evening, as he rested in a quiet chamber, a holographic projection appeared before him. It was a map of the surrounding galaxy with red markers indicating enemy fleets approaching. Ethan studied it, feeling a thrill of fear and responsibility. The Queen watched him silently. "You have seen the threat," she said. "Soon, it will reach our world. But your arrival is no coincidence. There is a reason you are here, Ethan. Your skills, your mind, and your courage may be the key to protecting Alindra." Ethan felt the weight of her words. He had lived a quiet life on Earth, never imagining that one day he would be responsible for the safety of an entire alien world. And yet somehow he did not feel unprepared. Somehow he felt ready, even if he did not know why. That night, sleep came slowly. His dreams were vivid, filled with images of alien skies, glowing rivers, and the Queen's calm, commanding presence. He dreamed of danger, of fleets attacking, and of himself standing alongside the Queen, ready to face what was coming. When he woke, the Queen was already waiting. "Today," she said, "you will meet the elders of Alindra. They will judge your worthiness. Be honest, be brave, and remember that your heart is as important as your mind." Ethan nodded. He took a deep breath, feeling the energy of Alindra hum beneath his feet. This world, so strange and beautiful, was now his responsibility. And though fear fluttered in his chest, excitement surged stronger. He had slept alone on Earth. But now, he had awakened in a world of wonder, beside an alien, Queen, and a destiny far greater than he could have imagined. And he knew deep inside that his journey had only just begun. The next morning, Alindra's sky shimmered with soft purple light. Ethan stood beside the Queen on a balcony overlooking the city, feeling both nervous and excited. Today was not just another day of lessons or tours. Today he would face his first trials, tests designed to show whether he was worthy of the Queen's trust and the respect of her people. "You must remember," the Queen said softly, her violet eyes locking with his. "These trials are not meant to humiliate you. They are meant to reveal who you truly are. Courage, intelligence, and loyalty are what will guide you. You will need all three." Ethan nodded, trying to steady his racing heart. He had spent his life solving problems in code and logic puzzles, but this was something different. This was life itself, on a world filled with beauty and danger beyond imagination. The first trial took place in the Crystal Forest, a place where the trees were made of translucent crystal, glowing softly with their own light. Paths shifted constantly, and the trees seemed almost alive, humming with energy. Ethan was to navigate the forest, reach a central chamber, and retrieve a crystal key, an object of importance to Alindra's security. "You will need to listen to the forest," the Queen advised. "It communicates, if you are willing to hear it." Ethan stepped forward carefully. At first, the paths twisted in confusing patterns. Every turn seemed to lead back to where he had started. He paused, taking a deep breath, and tried to calm his mind. Slowly, he realized that the soft hum of the forest grew louder in certain directions. He followed the sound, feeling the energy beneath his feet. Gradually, a pattern emerged. Paths opened before him as if the forest itself guided him. Hours seemed to pass as he navigated the glowing labyrinth. At times, he stumbled, tripping over roots of crystal or slipping on smooth surfaces. But each time he steadied himself and continued. Finally, he reached the central chamber, a dome of pure light with the crystal key floating in the middle. As he reached out, a soft warmth enveloped his hand and the key seemed to respond to his touch. He had succeeded. When he returned, the Queen smiled. "You have learned to listen, not just see. That is the first step, Ethan. The forest has accepted you." The second trial was a test of intelligence and diplomacy. The Queen led him to the council hall where the alien advisors sat in concentric circles. They presented him with a scenario, a dispute between two alien factions, each claiming rights to a floating city above Alindra's main river. Ethan was asked to find a solution that would satisfy both parties without causing conflict. At first, he felt panic rising. On Earth, he had mediated office disputes, but this was completely different. These beings were intelligent, proud, and bound by traditions he could barely comprehend. He took a deep breath and focused. He listened to both sides carefully, asking questions, noting the energy of their words, and the subtle shifts in body language. Slowly, he proposed a plan. A shared governance structure, using technology to balance responsibilities and resources. To his surprise, the council members considered his words carefully, then began nodding in agreement. The Queen watched silently. When the council finally accepted Ethan's plan, she said, "You have learned to think not just logically but wisely. That is a rare skill, Ethan. Few outsiders could achieve what you just did." The third trial was physical, testing courage and adaptability. Ethan was brought to the sky cliffs, massive floating plateaus with sheer drops and dangerous winds. He was asked to retrieve a piece of alien technology from a hidden cavern, navigating narrow bridges, shifting platforms, and natural obstacles. Ethan's stomach twisted as he looked down at the dizzying heights, but he remembered the Queen's words: courage, intelligence, loyalty. One step at a time, he moved forward. He focused on his footing, felt the energy of the cliffs, and adapted to the moving platforms. At one point, a sudden gust threatened to throw him off balance. He caught hold of a glowing vine-like structure, letting it guide him safely to the next platform. Finally, he reached the cavern. Inside, he found the device glowing softly. It hummed as he picked it up, resonating with his own energy. He had succeeded again, and when he returned, even the skeptical advisors nodded in approval. Ethan's confidence grew with each trial. He was learning that Alindra's world responded not just to strength or knowledge, but to intention, courage, and respect. He began to understand that his human instincts, his ability to think differently, to feel empathy, to act bravely, were not weaknesses here. They were strengths. Yet despite his growing confidence, he noticed something troubling. Some advisors whispered in corners, exchanging glances when they thought he was not looking. They questioned his place beside the Queen. Not all Alindrans were ready to accept a human as their leader's partner. Ethan felt the weight of their doubt, knowing that one mistake could change everything. One evening, after a long day of trials, the Queen led him to the palace gardens. The air shimmered with soft light, and plants glowed like stars. Ethan sat beside her on a floating bench, feeling the gentle hum of Alindra beneath him. "You have done well today," the Queen said. "But there is more to learn. Courage and intelligence are important, yes, but loyalty, honesty, and heart are equally vital. You will face challenges that test not just your mind or body, but your spirit." Ethan nodded, feeling both pride and apprehension. I want to do right by you, by your people. I don't want to fail." "You will not fail, Ethan," she said softly. "If you trust yourself and if you trust Alindra, you will find the strength to succeed." The next day brought a new challenge, one that combined all three aspects of the trials. A section of the city had been damaged by a sudden energy surge threatening a residential area. Ethan was asked to lead a rescue operation. He needed intelligence to analyze the situation, courage to navigate dangerous terrain, and loyalty to ensure every citizen was safe. He organized teams, coordinated with advisors, and directed efforts with a careful balance of logic and intuition. The energy surge was unpredictable, but he adapted, using human problem-solving skills alongside Alindra's technology. In the end, no one was hurt, and the damaged area was stabilized. The Queen watched him quietly, a faint smile on her lips. "You have done more than survive the trials, Ethan. You have begun to earn trust, respect, and the love of my people. That is the true test." Ethan felt a strange warmth. For the first time since waking in this alien world, he felt that he belonged, not just as a guest, but as someone who mattered. Later, as he rested in his chambers, he received a message from a hidden source. It was subtle, encrypted in patterns that only someone attentive could notice. It warned of a fleet approaching Alindra, a hostile force that had observed his arrival. Someone wanted him to know that danger was near, that his trials were only the beginning. He showed the message to the Queen. She studied it carefully, her expression serious. "You see, Ethan, the universe is larger and more dangerous than you realize. But your presence here, your courage, and your choices may be the key to protecting Alindra." Ethan swallowed, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He had never imagined that his life would lead to this, a human chosen as the companion of an alien queen, facing threats that spanned galaxies. Yet, despite the fear, he felt a strange determination. Somehow he knew he could rise to the challenge. As night fell, Alindra glowed softly beneath them. Ethan stood beside the Queen on a balcony, watching the floating cities sparkle with life. He had faced trials, won trust, and begun to understand the power of courage, intelligence, and heart combined. And he knew that whatever lay ahead, hostile, fleets, political intrigue, or impossible challenges, he would face it with the Queen by his side. For the first time, Ethan felt that he was not just a visitor on this alien world. He was part of it, part of its story, and perhaps part of its destiny. Little did he know the coming days would test him in ways he had never imagined, forcing him to grow, to adapt, and to prove that a human could truly stand beside an alien queen. The soft green light of Alindra's dawn spread over the city, painting the floating towers in gentle shades of silver and violet. But there was no peace in the air. Ethan stood beside the Queen on the palace balcony, staring at the distant horizon where a fleet of strange, glowing ships had appeared. They hovered silently, massive and menacing, their energy pulsing like a heartbeat. "They have come," the Queen said, her voice calm but firm. "The fleet has watched us for years. Now they test our strength. And you will help us face them." Ethan felt a mix of fear and determination. His trials had prepared him in some ways, but this was different. This was no controlled test or puzzle. This was war. His mind raced as he tried to think of how to help, how a human could contribute to the defense of an entire alien world. The Queen led him to the command center, a vast room filled with holographic maps, glowing panels, and alien advisors moving, like synchronized dancers. "We must defend Alindra, protect the citizens, and stop this fleet from advancing," she said. "Your perspective may be the key to our strategy." Ethan studied the maps. The fleet was massive, but their formation seemed predictable. He noticed patterns that the Elindran advisors had overlooked: timing gaps, weak points in their energy shields, and potential areas for counterattacks. Taking a deep breath, he spoke. "Divide the fleet into sections," he suggested. "Use the floating platforms and energy channels as traps. Draw them in and isolate smaller groups. Then strike with coordinated force from multiple directions." The advisors looked at him, some skeptical, others intrigued. One of the older winged generals stepped forward. "Your plan is risky, if it fails." Ethan met his gaze steadily. "I know it is risky, but if we do nothing, we lose everything. We have to act, and we have to act smart." The Queen placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then it is settled. Your plan will be our strategy." For the next few hours, Ethan worked tirelessly with the generals and advisors. He coordinated defenses, assigned positions, and adapted their technology in ways that surprised even the Elindrans. Floating energy barriers were repositioned, defensive drones were programmed with human logic, and unexpected attack routes were prepared. As the fleet drew closer, Ethan could feel the tension in the air. Citizens were being evacuated, emergency systems activated, and defenders took their positions. He moved among them, giving instructions and encouragement, feeling the weight of responsibility heavier with every passing moment. Finally, the first ships arrived. They descended from the sky with silent menace, their energy shields glowing brighter. Ethan watched as the Elindran forces engaged, firing beams of light and deploying drones to intercept the attackers. But he saw where the enemy had weaknesses. Timing his moves carefully, he signaled for the traps to activate. The first wave of ships was caught, energy barriers collapsing around them. The isolated ships struggled to escape, giving the defenders a chance to strike with precision. Ethan's heart pounded as he directed the counterattacks, feeling the thrill of strategy and danger combined. "Keep going!" he shouted, moving along the command center floor. "Use the energy channels, don't let them regroup." The Elindran generals, who had doubted him before, now followed his instructions. Their trust in his human perspective began to show results. Ships were destroyed, or forced to retreat, and the fleet began to falter. But the enemy was clever. They adapted quickly, sending a concentrated attack toward the city's central towers. Ethan realized that if the Queen's palace was hit, the defense could collapse. He had to act fast. "Queen!" he shouted. "We need to redirect the energy barriers to protect the palace. Use the floating platforms to create a diversion. I'll coordinate the strike from here." The Queen nodded. With a wave of her hand, she activated Elindra's defensive systems. Barriers shifted, platforms moved, and the attacking fleet was caught in a carefully designed labyrinth of force fields and counterattacks. Ethan's plan worked. One by one, the enemy ships were neutralized or forced to retreat. During a brief lull, Ethan caught his breath and looked at the Queen. She stood tall, her expression proud. "You have done well, Ethan," she said. "Your mind, your courage, and your loyalty have turned the tide. Elindra owes you much." He shook his head. "I didn't do this alone. Your people, they fought bravely. I only helped guide them." "Guidance is powerful," she said, "and your perspective was needed. Sometimes the strength of a world lies not in its weapons, but in the courage and creativity of one individual." The battle was not yet over. Ethan studied the fleet. From the command center, a few ships had escaped the traps and were regrouping. "They're not finished," he said. "We need a final strike. Target their engines and communication systems. If we disable them, they'll have no choice but to retreat." The generals hesitated. It was dangerous, and some still doubted a human's judgment. But Ethan's calm and clarity convinced them. "Trust me," he said simply. "We can do this." They launched the final strike. Energy beams, drones, and coordinated attacks targeted the enemy's critical systems. One by one, the ships faltered, losing power and maneuverability. Finally, the remaining vessels retreated, disappearing into the distance, leaving Elindra safe, for now. A cheer rose from the command center and the palace below. Citizens who had watched the battle from safe areas celebrated their victory. Ethan stood beside the Queen, feeling exhaustion, relief, and an unexpected sense of pride. He had faced a threat beyond imagination and had contributed to saving an entire world. The Queen turned to him, her eyes softening. "Ethan, today you have proven yourself not just as my husband but as a protector of Elindra. Your courage, intelligence, and heart have earned the respect of my people. They see now that you belong here." Ethan nodded, still catching his breath. It's hard to believe. I never imagined my life would lead to this, facing fleets in space, defending a world I barely knew. "You have always been chosen for this," the Queen said. "Sometimes fate brings the right person at the right time. Today you have shown that humans are capable of more than you realize." Even as the adrenaline faded, Ethan noticed subtle shifts among the advisors. Some who had doubted him now bowed in respect. Others still whispered, but with a newfound recognition of his abilities. He had not only helped defend Elindra, but he had also begun to unite its people behind him. As night fell, the city glowed softly beneath them. Ethan and the Queen walked through the palace gardens where plants shimmered and energy flowed like a living river. The sounds of Elindra's night filled the air, soft hums, distant calls of flying creatures, and the gentle rustle of leaves. "You did more than survive today, Ethan," the Queen said. "You led, you adapted, and you inspired. That is the mark of a true protector. Remember this feeling. Remember the strength you discovered within yourself." Ethan nodded. He felt tired but exhilarated. For the first time since waking on Elindra, he felt fully capable, fully present in this world. He was more than a human visitor. He was a partner, a leader, and perhaps even a hero. The Queen stopped beside him, her hand resting lightly on his arm. "But remember, this is only the beginning. The universe is vast, and threats do not always announce themselves. You will need to remain vigilant. You will need to continue growing, and together, we will face whatever comes next." Ethan looked out at the stars beyond Elindra's horizon, knowing she was right. The battle had been won, but the challenges of this world and others were only beginning. Yet he felt ready. He had discovered courage, intelligence, and loyalty within himself he had never known existed. And with the Queen by his side, he believed they could face anything. As they returned to the palace, Ethan felt a strange sense of belonging. He had slept alone on Earth, uncertain of his place in the world. But now, he had awakened to purpose, to adventure, and to a connection far deeper than he could have imagined. Elindra was no longer a strange alien world. It was a home, a challenge, and a responsibility. And he was ready to embrace it all. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring new trials. Political tensions among the council, unexplored mysteries of Elindra, and perhaps other fleets lurking in the shadows. But for tonight he allowed himself a rare moment of peace. He had faced the impossible, and survived. And he knew, deep inside, that this was only the start of a far greater adventure. The aftermath of the battle left Elindra quiet but vigilant. The distant stars twinkled softly, reflecting on the floating cities and glowing rivers below. Ethan stood beside the Queen on the balcony of her palace, looking out over the city he had helped save. The citizens moved among the platforms with a mix of relief and awe. Today, they had witnessed not just the defense of their world, but the emergence of a human who had earned their trust. "You have done well, Ethan," the Queen said, her violet eyes calm and proud. "You have not only helped protect Elindra, but you have shown my people that courage and intelligence know no bounds." Ethan exhaled slowly, still feeling the weight of the battle. He had never imagined that he would face such dangers, let alone help lead a defense that would determine the fate of an entire world. And yet, looking at the city below, he felt a deep satisfaction. He had contributed, he had adapted, and somehow he had grown stronger than he ever thought possible. "It wasn't just me," he said quietly. "Your people fought bravely. I only guided them." The Queen smiled gently. "Guidance is a gift, Ethan, and your perspective brought ideas that we could not see. Sometimes one person's insight can change the course of destiny. Despite the victory, tensions remained. Some of the council members who had doubted him were still uneasy. They had watched a human guide their forces and influence their queen's decisions. Not all were ready to accept this change. The queen led Ethan to the council hall. The advisors were gathered, some bowing, some standing silently, their expressions guarded. "We have seen courage, skill, and wisdom in action," the queen announced. "Ethan has proven himself not only as my husband but as a protector of Elindra. His presence here is a gift, and together, we will continue to safeguard our world." A murmur ran through the hall. Then, one of the senior advisors, a winged elder with feathers like molten gold, stepped forward. He looked at Ethan closely, then bowed deeply. "You have shown courage, wisdom, and loyalty. I admit, I underestimated you. Elindra is fortunate to have you." Others followed suit one by one. Slowly the tension eased. Ethan realized that trust was fragile, but it could grow through action, courage, and honesty. Today he had earned it. Later the queen took him to a quiet garden within the palace. Bioluminescent plants glowed softly, and streams of light flowed like gentle rivers. The world seemed calm after the storm, and for a moment, Ethan allowed himself to breathe. "You have faced a great trial," the queen said. "But our challenges do not end with one battle. The universe is vast and threats may come from places we cannot yet imagine. That is why your presence here is so important." Ethan nodded. I understand. I've learned more in these days than I ever imagined possible. I've seen courage in ways I never thought I would. And I've learned that being human can be a strength." "Exactly," the queen said. "Your perspective is different, unique, and sometimes that difference is the very thing needed to protect life, to inspire hope, and to guide others toward unity." The queen led Ethan to a high terrace overlooking the city. Below, citizens celebrated quietly, repairing damages and helping one another. Their lives were simple in some ways, yet intertwined with technology, energy, and beauty beyond imagination. Watching them, Ethan understood why he had been chosen. Elindra needed someone who could connect, guide, and think differently. A human had been brought here for a reason. As night fell, the sky shimmered with stars and moons, and Ethan felt a strange calm. He had faced battles, trials, and skepticism, yet he had survived and grown stronger. More importantly, he had earned the respect of a world that had once seemed impossible to understand. But the queen's voice drew him from his thoughts. "There is one more thing you must see." She led him to a chamber deep within the palace, a place bathed in soft light. In the center floated a globe of shimmering energy, showing distant planets and stars. "This is the map of our galaxy," she said. "Elindra is safe now, but there are countless worlds, some peaceful, some dangerous. Your journey here is not just about survival, it is about connection. One day you may be called to help beyond our borders." Ethan stared at the glowing map, realizing the vastness of the universe. He felt small yet significant. Somehow he knew that the choices he had made, the courage he had shown, and the wisdom he had gained would shape more than just this world. "You've come a long way in a short time," the queen continued. "But remember, strength is not only measured by power but by trust, compassion, and the ability to inspire unity. Elindra's future, and perhaps the future of many worlds, may depend on these qualities." Ethan nodded, feeling the responsibility settle firmly in his chest. He had once lived a quiet, ordinary life. Now, he was part of something much larger, something that mattered on a cosmic scale. And for the first time, he felt ready. In the Ike, following days, life in Elindra began to settle. The citizens repaired damages and the council focused on strengthening defenses. Ethan worked alongside the queen, advising, learning, and guiding where he could. He realized that leadership was not about being perfect. It was about listening, adapting, and taking action when it mattered most. One evening, the queen brought him to the palace balcony once more. The city glowed beneath them and the stars sparkled above. "Ethan," she said, "you have proven yourself. You are not just my husband. You are a symbol that courage, wisdom, and heart can come from anywhere, even from a world far away." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth he had never known before. I never imagined this life, but now I know it's where I'm meant to be. With you, with your people, I feel at home." The Queen's eyes softened. "Home is not always a place, Ethan. Sometimes it is a bond, a purpose, and a shared destiny. And now, you are part of that bond. Together, we will protect Elindra and prepare for whatever challenges may come." In the weeks that followed, Ethan continued to grow. He learned more about Elindra's history, technology, and culture. He trained with defenders, advised the council, and strengthened his connection with the Queen. And the citizens, once skeptical, began to see him not as an outsider but as one of their own. One day, while exploring the city with the Queen, Ethan noticed children playing with energy drones, laughing as the devices followed their commands. He realized that his presence had inspired hope, not just through defense but through unity. Elindra was stronger because of the bond between its queen and a human who had once slept alone on Earth. "Look at them," the Queen said, watching the children. "This is why we fight, Ethan. This is why your courage matters. You have given them hope, safety, and a future." Ethan nodded, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. I never expected to be part of something like this, but I am glad I am." The Queen smiled, her eyes reflecting the city lights. "And we are glad you are here. Together we face the future, not as two individuals but as a united force capable of protecting Elindra and beyond." That night, Ethan stood on the balcony alone for a moment, looking at the stars above. He remembered his quiet life on Earth, the nights he spent alone, unaware of the adventures that awaited him. Now, he was part of a story much larger, one that spanned worlds and galaxies. And though challenges would come, he knew he was ready. Ethan returned to the Queen's side. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we will face it together." "Yes," she replied, placing her hand in his. "Together we will protect Elindra, guide its people, and embrace whatever destiny awaits. You are no longer a stranger, Ethan. You are part of this world, and part of its story." As the night deepened and Elindra glowed softly beneath them, Ethan felt a sense of peace, purpose, and belonging. He had slept alone once in a quiet apartment on Earth, but he had awakened as the husband of an alien queen, a protector of a magnificent world, and a symbol of hope and unity. And he knew that his journey was only beginning. Elindra was safe, its people united, and a new chapter awaited, one where courage, heart, and wisdom would continue to shape the destiny of this incredible world. Ethan smiled, feeling the hum of Elindra beneath his feet, the glow of the city around him, and the presence of the Queen beside him. Together they had faced the impossible, survived, and grown stronger. And together, they would face the future, undaunted, united, and ready for whatever came next.